Welcome to my sprint and writing sprint power hour. Well, that's probably trademarked by somebody. So normally I do a writing sprint, and I've been plotting the last couple of days, and I'm putting that on hold this morning for two reasons. One, I have a writing project that I have to get done. So I need to work on that first, and we're going to spend an hour because my brain does not work at 5:58 a.m. It just does not. 6 a.m. is the earliest my brain even starts to function. I've learned this. I used to work graveyard and I hated it. And between 4 and 6 a.m., I was not there. It did not matter if I had slept for 12 hours before going on shift. It didn't matter if I woke up at 2 a.m. and was doing an early morning shift. Between the hours of 4 and 6 a.m., my brain does not turn on. I have to do manual, nothing else labor. Good morning, Easy Graphics. Welcome. We got a minute before we start our first sprint, and I was saying that we're going to spend an hour sprinting. I'm going to work on a project that I have to get done. I hope you guys came prepared to be productive with whatever it is that you have to get done, even if it's making tea so that you can be able to get through the next 2 hours. And then on the flip side of that, after the first hour from 6 to 7 a.m. my time, whatever that is your time, at 7, we are going to talk about Kindle Vella. And I've got a whole bunch of wonderful stuff. T plus reading. Yep. I hope you post your page count. Like, how many pages did you read if you want to? That would be so awesome. I'd love to hear how many pages you got in, or how it doesn't have to be a fast pace. You know, if it's one page, then that's great. Just something. All right, it's 6 a.m. So let's start these sprints. Turn off the mic. Mic back on. That's time. Almost finished. Cross fingers. I was so close. I was so close to being done. How'd you guys do on your 25-minute sprint? Well, it looks like Easy Graphics is still reading, but hopefully we'll get a read total at the end of the hour. Oh, 1 cup of tea and read 2.75 pages. Nice! Good job. I'm a super slow reader when I read, so I'm not trying to hurry you up. Hopefully it was fun. Whew. Yeah, I got my page built. I was so happy. So happy. And I'm working on finalizing the internal cover of the project that I'm working on. And then once I finalize the internal cover, then I will be good to go. I'm going to get a print mock-up done and sent out and hopefully delivered today. So that'll be good. That'll be super, super good. Thank you. Well, I mean, let's just get into our next sprint, because at the end of that, we're going to talk about the other thing. So, starting the timer, let's go. Okay, that's time. 2 sprints complete. Yay! How did you guys do? I completely finished my project. It is ready to go to the printers and then to the editing stage. It's been through 2 copy edits so far, and now it has to go through a graphic edit. Funs of child book production. So while you guys fill in what you got accomplished in that last sprint, I'm just going to pull up my notes here. 8 pages. Nice. That's like super double your last one. Yeah. That's 10.5 pages read for the day. You're getting somewhere. Sometimes more than I get in editing. I hope it's a good book, by the way. I really like it when, I really like it when it's a good book that I'm reading. Too often I have to do genre reading for research purposes, and the book's like, I'm sorry, not into your voice. It's not you, it's me. Ooh, is it dry? I mean, you said it's not too shabby, so I hope it's not completely dry. And I find that with informational books, I need to find someone that I like resonate with their voice. That's why I love Chris Fox so much, because I really resonate with his writing voice, and so I feel like I go through those books really quick. They're short reads, but most informational books are short reads. Good. I'm glad it's still interesting 10 pages in. That's a great sign. So we're going to transition over for this last hour to kind of a Q&A kind of thing. And I'm going to pull up my notes here. So yesterday, someone brought up the question about Vea. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've not had anyone tell me how to pronounce it, but double L's in my head. Wow. 300 plus pages on YouTube. Good luck. That is not short. That is not short. I don't even know how much of that is going to be useful. Oh, I don't like my informational text. Like, that's a textbook. That's not a book. That's not a light reading. That's a textbook. And I do not like my informational books to be like textbook size. I got through college and that was good enough. Okay. So someone brought up Vea, and I had not personally heard about it before, but understanding Kindle, I looked into it and I did a little write-up here, and so I'm going to talk through my write-up and then address any questions or things that you guys have along the way. Hopefully to try to make this as succinct as possible, but I also want it to be informative so that people can look into it for themselves and make informed decisions. I do have some links here. I think there's 4 links here that I plan to post at the in the information section of this video later today when I'm editing it. Unfortunately, when I set up these kind of live streams, that's not something I can do ahead of time yet. So here we go. Vea is Amazon's late to the game serial reading idea. Now, knowing Amazon, they probably saw all of this profit over here that was happening with all of these people, and they waited and they waited and they waited until it was actually profitable. Like, oh, we're missing out on the market here. I know from past sellers with Amazon, they would have a product that was only available in their area, and they'd be selling it really well, and it would make a good amount of money for them. And then Amazon would go back to the manufacturer and get that product added to their Amazon Prime side of things. And then the middleman sellers that, were doing these things would get cut out of the deal. And then that product would stop selling, and because Amazon took it over. They have this tendency of, ooh, profit. We're going to go for that. And this seems like that kind of venture. It's a, ooh, profit. We're going to go for that. And they did that a couple of years back. I'd say almost 8 or 7 years back with children's reading books in children's libraries. So you could pay a flat fee to have access to books for your kids with timed reading and all of these fun things. And it was inventive. I was actually coming out with something similar at the same time. But like I found out and like they found out, a lot of parents aren't willing to pay $10 a month for their kids to have access to books. Sad, but true. There's a couple of other programs that are locked into schools that are tied to school book collections. Not to name any specifically, but the two main book school collection things are Usborne and Scholastics. There are others. Those are the two that get pushed in schools, and they have their own systems for kids' libraries and online library access on top of regular online library access through things like Libby and Overdrive, which is through your public library side of the system. So throw all of that free content at people because it's paid for by either the school district or by the local government through the library and their consortiums. And people don't want to pay $10 a month generally to make sure that their kids are reading 20 minutes a day, especially on a device that could easily go to the internet and they can just binge watch videos without you knowing. So, step it back, Amazon's trying again with Vella, but this time a completely different audience. So much like how they have Kindle Unlimited, where you can read an unlimited number of books, unlimited, read the fine print. It's not unlimited, but it's, yeah. Vella is going to be a click per pay system that's based on their monetary coin that you have to purchase from them. And then you can read so many chapters as they come up in books and series and stuff. This is extremely popular with manga light and manga titles. And now that Amazon has gotten the ability to read through manga books and other high picture content books on their Kindle apps and devices, I think that's why this is rolling out now, is because before that, you couldn't do a page-by-page story breakout of things like heavy visual content. Now, the benefit of a system like this is you don't have to have a finished novel in order to put something out. You can put it out serially. Serial reading is not a new idea. I mean, hands up if you know it's not a new idea. The Homers, the Iliad and the Odyssey were both serial productions that were told orally to groups at times, and usually the bard or person that was sharing the poem would adjust it for their audience, and it would all be over a multi-day period telling this story. And I mean, it's performance art. And then we put it on the page, and like the age, so the age of writing and the all the Victorian stuff that us women romance lovers like to read all have serials like that came out. And of course, of these, the biggest ones was Charles Dickens, and the most well-known of Charles Dickens' works that was done in serial is The Tale of Two Cities. And The Tale of Two Cities is a really, really great example of how serial can go really right and really wrong. And if you get the chance to have a teacher that actually cares about studying the nature of publication and serial publication with reference to classical works, Tale of Two Cities is a wonderful one for that, because a lot of times the characters in Tale of Two Cities were brought in and killed off simply because Charles Dickens had nothing else to write that week, and he was on a deadline and he had to get it out. And when you're doing things like Vea, that's a problem that you might run into, but we'll talk about that later. It's a problem that has plagued manga and anime productions and other, it's a problem that plagued the Dragon book series. I'm trying to think. Game of Thrones. It's a problem that plagued Game of Thrones. They had so many books and so much to work with, and while they were working with the books, it was great, it was wonderful, it was awesome. They got to the end of the books and they were like, we can't work without something. It's not like we've had, 7 seasons of development and character. We just can't guess at what he's going to do. So let's just do what he always does. Kill everybody off, but not bring anybody in. And here's your ending. Thanks. That isn't meant to be a spoiler. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you should know by now that the ending was not something people were very interested in, and it did not match. Yeah, it did not match the books at all, because the books at that point haven't been written. And so with serial, you can also run into that problem where the book that you're trying to write, and where you normally need like a brain break to go, okay, what am I missing? Where are the plot holes? If you don't have it pre-written and already done on a schedule to come out, you'll hit those snags and then have a deadline that you can't meet. And so you'll throw something in there that is for the sake of the deadline, not for the sake of the book. Now, writers like Charles Dickens were really good at weaving that back in and making it seem like it was important and then killing them off. But I'm not Charles Dickens. If you are, you'll love Vella. Now, so when series and serials used to come out, what would happen is they would send out a paperback, kind of close to what we have as paperbacks today, except for the cover was even more flimsy, and was purely for like inside binding, and they knew it. And so they'd send those out in serial, and they'd come out in these, small chunks like this, and then you would collect those until the book was finished. And you could either pre-purchase the entire book, and whatever came out, then that's what you got in those weeks and months. Or you could purchase them individually. So if you accidentally missed one, then you were up a creek without a paddle, and your book wasn't going to be complete. And people would buy them like we buy magazines, or like we're now buying these serial book productions online, and they would collect them all together, and they would then send them to, when the book was completely finished, and they probably read them before it was completely finished, but maybe they had the patience to hold out. But they would take it and then they would send it to a binder. And the binder would put it in the nice leather binding that we see in all of the pictures of all of the Victorian and old-timey, libraries. They all look perfect. Have you ever wondered why those libraries look like perfect and every single volume like fits on the shelf and all of them have the same cover fabric and designs and they're all really, really pretty? Yeah, it's because they would get paperback serials and then have them bound if they could afford it with an actual binder. And then it would just go up on the shelf and look really, really pretty. And we're kind of past that age. I'm going to grab some water here. Any questions so far? Is this interesting at all? Okay. I'm not getting any response yet, so I'll wait. I'll keep moving forward. So today, thanks. So today we have, I'm getting to that. So I do think that it will work for nonfiction, but for a very different reason. So instead of having all of these different book binders that were individualized and different booksellers that would sell these serial books so that, there was residual income for people, nowadays we have multiple sites that are pay to play. Wattpad moved to that model. So most of their stuff, there's a level of free, but most of it is pay to play and you pay reading through per click. And I can't tell you how many others are out there. I mean, it boggles my mind. I recently downloaded one and read through all of their free stuff that they have. And then they're like, oh, well, for, $10 a month, you can get access to the rest of it. And I'm like, but then there's more that's going to come out after I have access to it. And I don't want to pay $10 a month just to get 1 or 2 episodes. So that's why the coin method is utilized in a lot of these, is because that way you're not paying a subscription base month. And the way Vellum works, Vea works, is the coin system. So you buy a certain amount of coins and it gets you a certain amount of reads. And the way it's looking at is the coin per read ratio, as they break it down, looks to be about the same amount as the page per read ratio that is currently offered for writers on Kindle Unlimited. So the pay structure is on par at this point, because again, this is all beta, is on par with a Kindle Unlimited book. The difference is if you want to be able to, one of the things as a writer that we are an independent writer specifically, are being pushed to do is to put out a book a month, if not a book a week, which is really, really hard. I'm going to tell you straight up. A book a week is nearly impossible, even for those that are in the upper levels, because it takes a week to write a book, let alone get it to editors, get it properly edited, get it sent back, implement those edits, and then go through the physical publication process. Now, a lot of the physical publication process has been made a lot simpler. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are much more qualified than me to walk you through it. I've been publishing independently since 2012. And so I've seen the evolution from CreateSpace and other things, and it's what people forget is that it still takes time. Like the physical amount of time for me to upload my book, to fill out all of the information that's required for publishing, and to press that button is at least 3 or 4 working hours. And just because it's working hours doesn't mean I have like 3 or 4 hours in a row that I can sit down and work on it. So think about that in your day, and as you're, doing all of these things. If you added, so it's a half day to actually physically press the publish button. It's another good day and a half to implement edits. And if you're working on a 5-day week trying to produce this book for, whatever your outline date is, you're trying to write however many pages you're trying to write however many pages. You guys can't see this. I hope you didn't hear all of that. I have a spam caller who's now calling me for the 4th time from Canada in the middle. Now I had to block the number. It's like, I'm sorry, here I am trying to do live and spam calls. Just really, really irks me. So, back to Vea. Yeah, and I apologize profusely. Yes, I really, and the worst part about it is it popped up as an actual number, and I know that it's not that number that is being put forward, and there is nothing that I can do about it. I can't be put on a no-call list. They're not law-abiding citizens, and it drives me up a wall. It really does. So I am going to get off that soapbox and back onto Vea and talk about the pluses and cons of writing in serial. So the pros is it keeps you on a schedule. There is an instant gratification that comes from platforms like Vea. You will get likes, you will get upvoted, and your book can move to in front of people the more people read it. So it's that instant, that happens with Kindle books. Like, you can hit the top of a genre or something, and then get seen and all this wonderful stuff, but it takes time. With Vea, it's super easy to put just a couple of chapters up and get that boost. Now, they're looking for money, so you're going to have to hook every single chapter. That's a downside, but we'll get to that. And you can adjust to feedback as it's coming in on your novel. So as long as you have the first chapter, the chapters that you want to put up, edited and ready to go, a good one pass over, or maybe even, maybe a beta reader, but I wouldn't even recommend a beta reader. As long as you wrote them, did your own edits on them, and then sent them to a line editor and got them clean. Because a lot of these are books that are going to be on this kind of platform are translation books. And so people are used to them not being perfect or perfectly translated as it is. Like, I'm willing to put up a lot because it's a translation. And so the English isn't always right. Sometimes the periods are off. But I know that that's going to be the medium. So a lot of people are going to go in with that kind of mindset. Now, if you're getting a lot of comments saying that it's not edited well enough, then that's that instant gratification, instant feedback, and you can adjust going forward. And as a writer, if you already have a story that is built for a serial audience, then this can be a really great platform for you. And you can do that either as a fiction writer or as a nonfiction writer, because there's a lot of nonfiction topics that fall into serials and that need updates and can hook people. but you just have to pick the right ones for the right reasons. So the cons of something like Vea is the editing. Because of how fast it's coming out, you need it well enough for your audience. Like, you need to have something that you can produce in a week and edit in a week. And it doesn't have to be long. Looking at what they're thinking about for edit for like Vea chapters, they're looking for anything between 600 and 3,000 words. They don't want any chapters or any sections to be over 3,000 words. But those sections also have to have a killer hook. You have to leave people wanting more and wanting to serial read. They have to think that your material is worth paying the couple of cents to hit that button to continue reading. And it has to be something that sticks in their minds enough for them to want to hold out until your next publication. Like, we're really back to television shows. And with YouTube, I mean, it's really the same thing. When I like to consider that Vea is more like the YouTube of the writing world. These programs are more like the YouTube of the writing world. You're putting them out serially. You need to have a good storyline. It needs to almost be a complete story within that whatever length of chapter it is, or at least a couple of those chapters. Like, maybe you can get away with 5 chapters in a row that follow the same storyline, but then you need to have them caring enough about the characters to want to come back for whatever the next is, and never really let them off the hook. Always leave them on a cliffhanger, which we do with our chapter endings anyways. That's just a style for editing and writing. But it's even more so with serial, because you have to hold their attention and have to keep it going. And the deadlines are tight. If you don't have anything that's pre-written and you have an ongoing series, you cannot miss a deadline. It's kind of like missing a pre-order. If you miss your pre-order, hello, Better Days, welcome. So we're talking about Vea right now, and if you have any questions or want to add anything to the conversation, please feel free to. We're just talking about the pros and cons in this moment, and going through mostly, we went through the pros, now we're kind of going through the cons. And last but not least, and this is the really important one, I think, especially for Easy Graphics, Vea is only for US authors in its beta. So I will repeat, Vea on Amazon is only for US located authors in beta. It is not for international audience. Well, it might be for international audiences, but it's not for international writers yet. Yeah, so that's the big one. Read the fine print, right? At the very bottom, at the very last page. Beta is just for US authors. So I think they're using us as guinea pigs, but it also cuts out a whole group of people that might be watching this video. And then last but not least, 1 token equaling 100 words is approximately the same amount of money that you are going to get if you're in Kindle Unlimited. There's no real difference there. So who is Vea for? Well, I mean, you could say you could use it for anyone, but I would like to think that anyone with a good anthology or a huge world build, someone that likes to do a lot of short stories that interweave with each other and build a character base, RPG type world builds where, you know, let's say that you have an independent storyline that you've built out of an RPG that you play, and you have your characters, and one of them's a bard, and they're recording it, and some characters go this way and some characters go that way, or you follow this character for a little while and then you end up in a tavern and they're like conked out, but this other character goes on an adventure. Those kind of stories can be really good for platforms like this, where they would not otherwise work in a novel because they're too separated and you're not invested enough in the initial characters, and then they're not long enough to be a novel series. Another pro, and this time like for nonfiction writers, if you have a topic that needs updated regularly, but you want to do writing instead of doing like videos like I'm doing right now, this could be a really great structure for that, because not only could you update what you're doing and keep hooks, going, you could also put it out serially so that people are, oh, well, what is the next topic? What is the next topic? And then every week they can get those updates, or they can get that rolling out. It can be super helpful. Another thing, because this is something that can be graphic heavy, if you have project books and you want to beta test project books, one of the things that you could do is put out a project a week. And people then are paying at a Kindle-based rate for your felting project of the week, or your rock painting project of the week, or anything that you can put. And if it needs to be graphic heavy, it can be in Vea. Other nonfiction writers, anyone that has an ongoing topic of interest that might be too long for a massive book that people need in serial. I'm kind of thinking about like maybe dating books. If you have like certain area expectations, you can do like a couple of weeks in How to Date in America, and then a couple of weeks in How to Date in England, or things like that, like, and do regional separations. And by doing it this way, putting it out weekly, you're getting that beta reader feedback. You can take this down and put it up after a certain amount of time, because again, this is Amazon. Everything's about time and exclusivity with them. After so much time, you could put it up as a full-length book, but you can't, once it's up as a full-length book someplace else, you can't ever restart it or keep it up in Vea. But you could use Vea as a beta platform to see if certain markets have any interest. And that way you're only doing the first 5 weeks, and you're not having to put more into the project if you don't want to. Same with novels. Like if I wanted to beta test a new novel or novel genre, I could put the whole, I could start the book, get my first 3 chapters really edited really well, put them up on Vea, see if there's any response, see if there's any build while I'm writing it out and editing, write, edit, get the whole book out on Vea, and then if it does take off, then know that I can have a series that's worth moving forward on. And I can close that book out and put, hey, rest of the series is going to be available on, and whatever platform I choose to put it out at that point. You could even go wide with it at that point, as long as that first story remains on Vea until you take it down. Cons. So this is the huge con. It never stops. Serials just don't quit. And so if you don't have the kind of plot bunnies and world build that allows for 50 years of Doctor Who don't get into a serial. Unless you're doing it, like I was saying, for the purposes of beta reads or mining for profitable markets. I mean, you could even do a couple puzzle serial where they get so many pages of puzzles a week. Just make sure that your word count's there, or your pictures. Other things, the pricing structure, according to their website, is up for grabs right now. They don't know if the price point is going to work for people. And so right now they're modeling it on what you get for page reads in Kindle Unlimited if they read all the way through your material. But that's $14.99 for basically a book length document. And I don't know about you, but people have a hard time paying $4.99 for my book length documents over on Kindle right now. And even if I get the read throughs, most of the people that are reading on Unlimited are doing it because they're avid readers and they know they're going to spend more than $10 worth of readable money. That's like $10 is about 2 books right now if you bought them outright. And so if you read more than 2 books a month, Kindle Unlimited's worth it. Well, if I'm being charged $14.99 for 1 book worth of reads, that's $30 for what I can get on Kindle Unlimited for $10. And if people figure that out, the pricing structure could change. And given everything that's happened with Audible and that side of Amazon's writing business, I'm very leery about the possibilities here with what's going on and the lack of the lack of transparency and their ability to change this on me at any point in time. I mean, they could change any of it on all of us, right? So if they decide tomorrow that, oh, we're not going to be offering 35% royalties, we're going to be offering 30% royalties on all books, including those that are in Kindle Unlimited, you can no longer do, you're not going to get your 70%, you're not going to get your 35%, we're only going to give you 30%. We would all be stuck there. That is their right as the base publishing agent. And as it is on my print books, like for instance, so let's say that you decide, over here, you decide that you want to pick this up today, and so you're going to order it on Amazon. Well, that's all well and good, and it's a print on demand, so I don't carry any stock. And they carry what they think is going to sell, and it's great, and it goes out as it's supposed to, when it's supposed to, and it gets to you in a really timely manner, which is super awesome. But, and this is a huge but, there's a base price for the production of this book. It is based on its number of pages and the type of printing I have. So I have black and white insides. If you have color, that changes it. And based on all of that, I have a price that I pay out of whatever royalty base is. And then there is the percentage that I get of the royalties. Now you would think that what would happen is that there is the price that I am paying for something. So let's say this one, $14.99. Okay, like we were talking about through the subscription. $14.99 is the cost of this book if you were to go on Amazon today and purchase it. Then, after that, I am supposed to get 35% of those royalties, and Amazon's supposed to get 65% of those royalties. But there's the cost of the physical book, right? Cost of the physical book. So you would think that Amazon would take that price point, take out the price of the physical book, and then give the royalty split. Nuh-uh. They do everything in their favor. What they do is they take that top price, so that $14.99, and they take out their 65%. So they got 65% of $14.99. And then they take out the price that it costs to produce the physical book. So I get 35% royalties after the cost of the book is taken out. And this is also on digital. So whatever it costs for them to send that digital book out to that person, and if you're picture heavy, it can get expensive, they take that out before they give you, out of your 35% that they give you. So I really don't get 35% on the sale of this book. I wish I did, but I don't. And that's the cost of doing publishing. Questions? Yeah. Yep. So if you ever wonder why they're like, the minimum price has to be that, that's so much higher than, you know, what it, like, add this and add that. Why is it? Yeah, that's why. That's why. So I hope that helps, Easy Graphics. I hope that eases your mind that you're not missing out being where you are. And it is just beta, right? Vea is just in beta. And they say 50%, right? Oh, we're going to split whatever whatever we're getting for the coins, we're going to split it 50-50 is what they say on Vea right now. But that's subject to change. And it's based on their model system of payment that hasn't been solidified. So big red flags in my mind. Doesn't stop me from wanting to try it because I like new things and I always like to try something to see if it works. But big red flags. Did we lose Better Days? Well, I hope this was super informative for you guys. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I assumed as much. But that's again why I'm doing this, is because I wanted to bring you guys the best information possible in this moment. And this is again why I'm doing it live. I don't want people to watch this and think, oh, this is still valid information. This is programs in beta. This information might be only valid for like this hour of today, knowing Amazon. They change so much so fast. But at least it's valid today for this hour. And there are other, like, if you're really interested in doing serial, there are other platforms. Back when I was on Wattpad, and that was like a big thing, and I was utilizing it for marketing. In fact, the book I showed you, I would post my second drafts on Wattpad with it, with that, knowing that for the audience. And I learned a huge ton of stuff through doing serial, writing that book in serial, among other things, when I was trying to build an audience so that I could get a publishing deal. I was really, I mean, that was back before the boom, so we're talking pre-2015. I actually spent most of 2013, 2014 trying to market that to an actual agent and then publisher, and just no bites, no direction in that. So yeah, I can talk about that story, but that's a whole nother topic. So let's stick to Vella. But there are, like I said, Amazon's coming really late to the game. They were monetizing and doing this kind of bite read stuff back in 2014. So we're talking 7, 8 years late to the game. I honestly don't know why they're doing it except for money. And I don't know if they're large enough, but I don't know if they really have the audience that's going to make this worthwhile for them. So I really feel like this beta is really a beta test. I have been subject to a lot of their beta stuff because, I like new things. I remember when they tried their gaming platform and system for phone games, and that went away. But Amazon is very much a spaghetti factory. Throw it at the wall, see what sticks. And hey, look, it's art. It's all of our garbage, but hey, it's art. And so this is going to be a let's see if it sticks project. Or at least that's my opinion. Also, if I didn't say this before, I am not paid for any of this. This is not an advertisement. I am not saying yay or nay to doing Vella. This is just purely informational. And I was not given any remuneration or benefit from giving this talk. Yeah, I would agree. There is so much I could say about Amazon that is negative. They don't believe in people, but they take care of their customer first. But they don't see customers as people. So it's this really odd space. And I am just happy that they let me play in their pond. And so I'll stick with that because I don't have to use Amazon. There are all the other alternatives, but it's like saying that you're not going to go to the only park in town because you have a backyard. Like, how many other kids from the area are you going to run into in your own backyard? Yes. Easy Graphics just said, we need KDP and Amazon way more than they need us. Laugh out loud. Yeah, 100%. I have a backyard, and I could produce my books in my backyard, and I could go and play in other people's backyards, and maybe those people have pools. But Amazon is the, local swimming pool / water park area / theme park thing. I mean, it went from like, the community pool with a park next to it to being Wild Waves. And now you have to pay to get into Wild Waves. You had to pay to get into the community park, but you have to pay to get into Wild Waves. But it's Wild Waves. So are we mad because we have to pay because there's this huge thing? And are you going to run into more people at Wild Waves? Yes, you're going to run into more people at Wild Waves than your community park or your backyard. But at the same time, how many people at Wild Waves is going to care about you? I mean, where are you more likely to drown? In your backyard, in the community pool, or in Wild Waves? And again, no disrespect to Wild Waves. They have some really nice water parks that I have enjoyed over the years. Not trying to use their brand name in any negative way or form or fashion. So, right. Well, again, I hope that has been super informative. We really don't have time for another sprint, but if you guys would like, we can finish out the hour working on a last project and then say goodbye, or do you want me to just cut out now? You're very welcome. Yeah, I think it's probably best if we just all head out for the day. Yes, I will be here live 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific time all next week. I'm doing this for all of April in light of Camp Nanowrimo. If you haven't checked it out, please check out Camp. It's totally worth it. There's a huge number of resources there and people and fun. I remember when this used to be the screenwriting month, and we would go to their screenwriting website and do this. And then they started camp in the middle of summer around July, and then this one kind of devolved into a camp because not enough people were writing screenplays to make it worthwhile. But because I'd never write a screenplay. That's just not me. I get why people do it, but not me. So please check out Camp NaNoWriMo. Glad to have you here. Thank you, Easy Graphics, and glad this was informative. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and be safe. Bye.